So you can find Black and Empowered Podcast on YouTube and on Dr. Isha Metzger's website. So click on her handle, go under Black and Empowered Podcast, and you can find an ample amount of podcast episodes where we're talking all things Black, all things wellness, and all things Black excellence. See you there.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Welcome back to another episode of the Black and Empowered Podcast. I am so excited to be back for episode 2 of our Mirror series. This is a series that I started to really talk to my soulmates and people who illuminate different parts of me, and to have them illuminate different parts of themselves, and to contribute to our ongoing conversation about self-development, about monetizing our passions, about just life and holding on to our identities as we transition throughout various stages that we happen to encounter each other in. I am so excited to have with me today a very dear friend of mine. Her name is Gretchen, Gigi Fletcher. You guys, some of you may know her just by being a good friend of mine in my personal life. She's always over my stories, my page. You can see her on Roman's page as well. But today we are excited to talk to you about her professional career, how she has grown and transitioned from being an executive assistant to now hosting retreats and really monetizing again that passion in a way that is more sustainable moving forward. So we are really excited today to have Gigi join us. Gigi, say hey to everyone.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. So happy. Excited.
Yay! So hopefully today, like I said, our audience will get to know you, get to know what your interests are. I do want to have you introduce yourself in a second, but we like to start with a really fun game just to get us loose, just to get us in the mood of, just relaxing and taking the pressure away from what is considered podcasting right now that's taking over the world. So we're going to start with just a very carefree, casual, lighthearted game. I think you're going to be good at this because we listen to music all the time. So it's a music-based game. It is called the Song Association Challenge. Basically, what I'm going to do is we can decide on who starts. So whoever starts says a word, and then the person who receives the word has 10 seconds to sing a song or rap a song or do, perform the song to the best of your abilities.
Okay.
That has the word in the song title or just a lyric in the song. That makes sense?
Let's do it. Yes.
Okay, it's kind of like
very
word
much so.
association,
Yes.
but with music. Okay, exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so you're sitting ready.
I'm excited.
Okay, so let me let your first word be ready.
Oh. I am ready. Why are you hiding from me? I'm not getting judged on my vocal skills. Correct?
No.
Okay.
First of
sure.
all, perfect pitch. Sounded wonderful. The vibrato, great, lovely. We love India around here.
Thank you.
Good. 1 point.
Yay.
Okay, give me a word.
So I go now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say bicycle. Is that a good one or no? That's not good.
Well, I'm gonna have to get a little vulgar here. It is a reggae song. Ride Pandy Cocky like a bicycle.
I was hoping that's where you were gonna take it. I was hoping.
Sorry, baby.
But that works. We love that. We take
it.
Very
Cute. I love. Okay, so ready and bicycle, cute.
That was hard. I gave you a hard one, so you
gave me a very really hard word. There. Let's do one more round. I'm like, let me give you a hard word now.
Okay.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, go
what
ahead.
will a cute word be? I have 2 in mind.
Okay.
I'm thinking. Okay, summertime.
Oh, easy. Summertime.
All right, Will. I
Bless
love
his heart.
that.
That's probably the last hit he's had. He's struggling, but I'm here for it and love him nonetheless. So
I love it. I was thinking summertime and the living is easy.
That
but
one
good,
too.
good.
Okay.
All right. One more.
Okay, I'm gonna give you I'm gonna pay you back and give you an easy one. I'm gonna say love.
Oh, well, you just did. I'm ready for love. Love to love ya, love ya. Ooh. I don't know
Ooh.
why I got all these obscure songs today. Love to love to love
Obscure.
you.
That's a throwback. That's a good
We'll
one.
take it. Exactly. All right, we'll take it.
Yes.
All right, great warm up. I appreciate that. All
Good.
right. So let us jump into the show. Typically we start with guest introductions. We could do a little story time about. Okay, so let's do this. I'll start with the story time about how we met, and then you could do like a actual introduction of who you are for real. So I met. Oh, this works in terms of an intro to retreats as well, because I actually met Gigi. I was an attendee at a retreat this is COVID times, 2020. We were in the Dominican Republic. I was at a writing retreat, and Gigi was one of the retreat coordinators. And I say one of, you were the only one who coordinated. You were working with Dr. Jasmine Abrams, right? I think you were the only,
Yes,
you were the main
yes.
coordinator. Exactly. So Gigi was running all around the resort, making sure the retreat was great for everyone. We had morning affirmations. This was the most personalized retreat I had ever been on. And even prior to, knowing who Gigi was and what she did, I was just blown away by the detail that was going into just us checking into this retreat. There was a welcome package. Like I said, there were these affirmations, there was a free massage, there was chocolate. Like, oh my God, who has curated this event? Again, still did not know this was Gigi, right? So I'm leaving the bedroom where I checked into my retreat. I'm going to go mingle with everyone, to go meet everyone. There's a house full of people for this retreat. And we're all looking around, getting to know each other, and everyone here is complete strangers. And I look at Gigi and I said, do I know you from somewhere? And Gigi says, no, I don't think you know me from anywhere. I don't know you. And I'm like, where are you from? And she says, I'm from Indiana. And I'm like, well, I've never been to Indiana. And then she says, well, I live in Atlanta now. And I'm like, well, I live in Atlanta now. So we go through and we do not know each other at all. We have been close, I'll say adjacent, but had never met. But literally from that moment of me feeling so familiar with Gigi, when I tell you we bonded and laughed the entire trip, we had our meals together, we were sharing personal and professional stories. It was just literally soulmates, love at first sight. And this was 4 or 5 years ago now. Now she is one of Roman's godmothers. She is literally one of my dearest, very best friends in the world. Like, we talk about everything, like I said, from life, love, pursuit of happiness, all the way down to how can we become millionaires and take over the world? So
listen, soon it's coming.
So in progress.
Yes.
So Gigi, I would love for you to, just based on that very brief kind of personal introduction to how we met each other, talk to our listeners about who you are, where you're from, and just kind of your preliminary background into the work that you do now.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I am originally from Indiana. That's not usually what I lead with. So because anybody who's been to Indiana, you know what I mean? It's not really like you're not writing home to mom about it, but that's where I am from. I've been in Atlanta since about 2012. And when I got here, I had a few miscellaneous jobs. In your younger 20s, you got to pay the bills. But then I finally found my way, if you will, and started my career as an executive assistant. So I had two significant roles, one for a financial firm. I was there about 5 years, and then I got what at the time seemed like my dream job. I was the executive assistant to a surgeon in Buckhead, and I was living the life. I was living the life because it was what I genuinely enjoyed doing. I found that being an executive assistant and providing support and structure and streamlining, it's just what fills me up. You know what I mean? I found my thing. So I just happen to also be very good at my thing. So I'm in this job and I'm working for this surgeon. And as time goes on, anybody who's worked in the corporate world knows that there's always particulars to certain corporate climates. There are always different variables that you have to deal with depending on the type of industry you're in. Long story short, it turned out to be a toxic environment, that I wasn't really fostering in or flourishing in. Of course, I was still making good money. My job was very easy. I was very good at it, but it wasn't something that made me feel awesome anymore. So in 2019, I decided to start my own business. Yes, he was a double board certified spine surgeon. Double board certified is when you are certified in two designations essentially. So he was orthopedic and spine. Anybody who, I mean, of course, shout out to our healthcare system, love the doctors, but anybody who's ever worked with a physician really on any level in the medical industry, you know, they are particular birds. You know what I'm saying? They've got
Okay.
their certain set of, I don't want to say issues because everyone's different, but you know, this particular person he was in his 60s at the time. He had never been married and he didn't have any children. So there wasn't really any baseline holding him to normalcy, if I could put it broadly.
And
So long story
physicians are
short,
a little strange too. I got you.
yes,
I'm a psychologist,
you
so
said it, not me.
we're along the same
You
line.
said it. Yeah,
I
agree.
told Roman's doctor, like,
So
you gotta be a sociopath a little bit to be able to poke and prod people. Yeah, you're
what
cutting into
I
people's
heard a
spines.
generalization. You're cutting into people, and you've got to have a little bit of a God complex to be able to want to do that every day. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right,
that should say
yeah.
enough. So I worked there for almost 6 years. Like I said, I started
Okay.
my business in 2019 and I was doing both. And then at the top of 2021, in fact, about 2 months, no, 3 days before that retreat that I met you on was my last day at my corporate job. I had kind of just had enough
Wow.
and I was ready to really just step out on faith and, you know, walk in the purpose that I feel like God put in front of me. So I gave my notice. Literally January 7th was my last day, and January 10th is when the first day of the retreat was
The
in the
retreat,
Dominican Republic.
wow.
So yeah, and I've just not looked back since.
Yeah. So tell me about you transition from executive assistant to producing these retreats for, wellness people or people in the wellness industry. So how do the roles differ in those two kind of domains? Being an executive assistant to a CEO versus, okay, now I'm working for, yes, one person, but a whole group of people who are attending these retreats.
That's a good question, and I would say they're not too far off, honestly. It may be because what a lot of people don't understand is there's administrative assistants and there's executive assistants. They're very different roles. There are some
Okay.
similarities, but they're different roles. An executive assistant plays a little bit more of a role. It's an administrative assistant. There's also some personal assistant aspects. There's some project management aspects, and all of those are dependent on the type of executive you work for. The type of executive I worked for had to relearn his social security number when I quit because he didn't have to think for
You did
himself. He didn't have to do
everything.
anything for himself. I did everything. So I was specifically positioned to kind of have a lot of skills necessary for the retreat production role. And it really just came naturally almost. One of my girlfriends at the time, we had just been working together, you know, having work sessions, and she had shared this dream she had with me of wanting to do a retreat. And I was like, why don't you do it? And she was like, it's just a lot. And I was like, well, I'll help you. Let's do it. And so in the writing retreat that you spoke of, she's the academician. It's one of my new favorite words, academician. She was an
Was
academician
that
who
your
put on the
first
writing retreat.
retreat? Was that your first retreat
Sure,
ever?
absolutely. I'm going to do
That
you one
was
better. Her and I
amazing.
started planning that retreat in November, and we
And we
took you
went
guys in
in
January.
January.
Yeah. So
And
it
when I
was
tell you
very,
guys,
now
this
granted, I will
retreat
say,
felt like it was 10 years running. It felt like a well-oiled machine. Wow.
100%. Well, and I will say that is due largely in part to, because like I mentioned, the client at the time, Dr. Abrams, Jasmine Abrams, she had been envisioning this. You know what I mean? So when her and I were finally able to sit down, it was like she's finally getting her vision on paper, which is why, because you mentioned the affirmation cards while yes, I produced all of that and was happy to facilitate it, a lot of those ideas came from her. That was just
Okay.
literally,
Okay.
you know what I mean? She had a lot of that and downloaded it to me, and I was like, well, let's make it happen. And then when my client comes in and has so many great ideas, it leaves so much room for me to like sprinkle the sprinkles on top. You know what I mean? To really help level it up even more. But yeah, that was it. It just kind of worked seamlessly because to me, it just seemed like I was taking my executive assistant tasks, and I love to travel, and I was just doing my executive assistant tasks in a beautiful place. And of course, as time has went on, and I guess stretched my wings as far as different industries I'm producing in and things like that. You know, obviously I've learned more, do things a little bit differently, but all in all, I'm grateful to have found this piece of what I love to do, for sure.
Wow. Wow. And when you talk about how those kind of roles transferred across your different careers, that makes sense that you didn't have to do much different. So, what I know about you as a person, even just knowing you these past 5 years, is that even as a friend, right, you're always thinking, how can I help? How can I contribute? How can we make this more fill in the blank, more structured, more fun, more
Hmm.
beneficial? And that, I think, those kind of personal characteristics, you're organized, you're forward thinking. I think we're a good combo of type A and type B in that you allow
Yes.
for flexibility. But right, like, baby, if y'all ask Gigi how many notebooks she has right now, she has a notebook for everything and it's all organized and they all have tabs. And that, in terms of what it takes to plan and execute something, I think extends beyond personal assisting all the way through these kind of retreat. You call it producing, and I think that that is so true. You're
Hmm.
producing these retreats for the clients that you work with.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you considered along the way in terms of your personal strengths and characteristics and how you could lend that to your career?
Absolutely. I think in when I was working in the last corporate job that I had, after I had already figured out what I was good at, I think the journey that I went on was, how can I build a life doing something that I genuinely also love to do, and then in turn, obviously, the money will come. And I think the focus was that journey, right? Like honing in on, how can I translate the support that I genuinely love to give, how can that translate into doing that for myself, still benefiting other people and being able to make a living from it.
Hmm.
So it was a process. It was definitely a process, and I'll be honest, it's so funny. God is so funny, because I truly think, had the person that I worked for not been as unpleasant as he was, I would not have had the fire lit underneath me.
And the
I could,
push.
because like I said, I was making good money. I could have done that job with my eyes closed for 10 more years, and they would have let me.
Yeah.
But I also would have not grown. The person I was working for was someone who had no problem being vocal about the fact that, no, 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 nobody else needs to be a boss. Everybody just work for me and I'll take care of you.
Wow.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because there are some people who operate better working under someone. And I love that for them. Not that I don't operate well, but I also don't ever intend to work for anyone else ever again. I would
Yeah,
like
you're
to work
very
with people
collaborative.
moving forward.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So with your clients, you consider it that you guys are working together to produce these retreats.
Oh, absolutely. A
Yeah.
100%, because it is a cumulative effort, right? I like to think of it as, I'm the legs, but I need your vision. You know what I mean? I can help fill the blanks, right? I can give you my ideas, but then it's not your retreat. And genuinely, the I guess the fluff in my pillow in the retreats is being able to see on the front end the excitement of, oh, let me tell you about this, and then on the back end, like that last day when everyone's leaving, my client just being like,
We
look
did
at yeah,
it.
look at what you did. Yeah, because I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, but it's incredible. It really, really is, because to go from literally an idea that you've never really thought about coming to fruition, telling it to someone, and then not, I would say every retreat I've produced, I'm constantly reminding my clients, it's going to be okay. Yes, we'll take care of it. It's going to be okay. I understand. Because it's human nature, right? This is something that you've cultivated and you want everything to be great. So it's almost, it's my favorite type of I told you so at the end. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, see?
Wow. Wow. So I really
Yeah,
appreciate that what you just described is that optimism, but it's also trust in yourself in that, okay, I know what it takes to execute a retreat, right? What sort of
absolutely.
personal characteristics would you say that individuals who are going into the retreat production stage or even executive assisting, because what you're saying is those traits transfer over. What sorts of
Mhm.
personality traits do you think work well for this type of work?
Good question. I would say absolutely, flexibility.
Mm,
For me, compassion is a big one. All of my clients tell me that I have a heart for the people. And I think that is, of course, I'm not knocking how anyone else runs their retreat facilitation or production. Me personally, the way my business runs, it is based off of the experience. I genuinely want for every person that attends every single one of my retreats to feel taken care of the whole time they're there, and also come back full of whatever it is they were looking for. So it is, I would say definitely flexibility, compassion, sense of urgency. It's a must. A must. And also I would say the ability to anticipate.
Oh, you're so proactive. Yeah, okay. And
Yeah,
all of
for
these
sure. You
characteristics
gotta
that
be.
you're saying, yeah, you have.
Well, and I would say the
Yeah.
biggest one would be flexibility. Because you can, when I tell you, you can plan a retreat from A to Z, top to bottom, and everything's great. No matter what, something's shifting. A flight's late, right? A vendor doesn't show up on time. Somebody's allergic to fish. They didn't tell you they were allergic to. Always something. And that's life. You know what I mean? Like you can't ever help or change those things. So just, having that flexibility on the front end, knowing, all right, baby, we're going to take it as it comes. You can prepare the most as possible, but like preparing for the unexpected is really where you seal the deal.
Yeah, and you know what? A part of that flexibility, I'll just speak this back into yourself. It takes a certain level of confidence to be able to say, this is fine, we'll take care of it. Because, right, you have to know that you have the ability to take care of whatever comes up.
You said something there. Yes, ma'am. And I will say, I don't give that tyrant that I worked for much credit, but I will credit him to this. I was a very good executive assistant when I started working with him. But because of his perfection and his expectations, I almost daily was met with unrealistic tasks, just almost to see if I could do them. And I did. So I left there with this badge, like knowing there's not much I can't figure out. There's not much we can't make something shake from. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless someone is dead or we are out of money, there is not much we can't pivot from, because especially in the retreat industry, there are so many moving variables that I can't control. Other people's flights, the different venues, the weather. These are all things that, and I will also say, don't let me act like my first retreat, I was letting this stuff roll off my shoulders. Honey, no.
You were stressed
saying? My shuttle driver's 5 minutes late. It's crazy. But,
yeah.
4 or 5 years in, now it is, when things go according to plan, I'm like, ooh, look at the Lord. I love it, because it doesn't always happen that way. But I will say that is just preparing for that and knowing that it's coming. Absolutely. He helped me. Sorry, I remembered where I was going with that. He helped the boss that I worked for. Yeah, he helped me have to anticipate and then literally go down a checklist of exhausting all options to find a solution. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, my slogan was, don't bring me a problem if you don't have a solution to offer. I don't want to hear it unless we're talking about the solution. You know what I mean? Because very often people love to tell you what's wrong. That's great, baby, but how are we going to fix it?
Yeah. Wow. And I really appreciate the kind of trajectory that you're describing, because oftentimes, and I know that we're going to have some listeners who are going to hear you talking and say, okay, I'm fresh out of undergrad. I need to go produce my first retreat, or I need to jump right into that.
Oh, baby.
And what you're talking about, right, is the trajectory that it takes to gain those skills, to gain that experience, to also gain some income, right? Because you talked about, I had to work in corporate America to make some money in order to work, right? I think so often right now we have people who say either, I'm just going to quit my job and make my dreams happen, or I'm going to be able to jump straight into my dreams. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you need to work a 9 to 5 while you follow your dreams, or maybe you need to work for someone else before you start leading the retreat production, right? So I think that that's really important that you're highlighting in your trajectory, and that, yeah, I did have to work for a very difficult boss even at one point, but even those experiences helped build my skills to where I now have the compassion.
Absolutely.
And I can bring the opposite of that into the workspace that I'm doing. But those skills, I know how to deal with the worst and the hardest and the toughest of them. And that's so important too.
Man, yes, absolutely. You said something there, because, excuse me, it is very, and I don't want to say, like, I don't want to be, you know what I'm saying, negative and say you can't be fresh out of undergrad and get you a job producing or facilitating a retreat somewhere. You can. There are lots of different types of retreats. You know what I mean? You'll go on a retreat where there won't be much of a person. You know what I mean? It's all about the level that you actually want to reach. For me, the retreats that I produce are retreats that I myself am aligned with and I'm passionate about. So therefore, the results aren't just about my business. It's about me. I care about how these people feel.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So you could be fresh out of undergrad, of course, and work for a retreat that's more of a mill, and it's just, you guys are taking 3 and 4 groups of 50, 100 people here, there, and you're,
Okay.
glorified
Okay.
travel
Yeah.
agent. And that's great because a lot of people love to travel, right? And love to
Yeah.
help book stuff. That's great. But I will say that's something that I would say kind of sets my agency apart a little bit is we really, really care. And not that, all money is green, honey. So I love to make it, but all money is not good money. And I had to learn that early on. You know what I'm saying? Working for myself. And for that reason, there's somebody for everybody. We'll say it that way. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
you want to be
Yeah.
fresh out of undergrad and hit the ground running, that's great. But I do think there's something to be said about the progression of, to your point, the experience, learning,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to really
Mm-hmm.
like pour all of me into what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you kind of just described another privilege, right? In that you are able to say no, right? If someone came to you and said, I want to do a
Mm,
retreat that is forming this mini cult or that is, right, harming people in some way, you're able to say, no, that's not a retreat I want to be a part of. Or someone who says, I'm going to produce this retreat meal and we're pushing people in and out and not really caring about them. And it's just a cycle and there's no follow up or sustainability. And I don't care. You're able to say, that's not something that's value based. So there is something to be said about, right, being able to be selective, being able to make your nose based not on they don't pay me enough, but
mm,
is this a type of work that I want to do or the type of impact that I want to have based on my values? Which, yes, we were at
ooh,
a
yes.
writing retreat, but the writing retreat was focused on, right, centering ourselves and being peaceful while being productive, not overworking. Can you talk a little bit more? And this is even for me as a friend who's curious, a little bit more about the types of retreats that you curate and the outcomes for participants and why that's important to you.
Yes, that's one of my favorite questions because the outcomes are my favorite thing to talk about. Um, oh, so many. So the writing retreat that you spoke of, Dr. Abrams, she had that idea that came from something that she felt like she needed for herself because she was burnt out. So she felt like she needed a space to go in a beautiful surroundings, whatever tranquil feels like to you, right? For her, it's beach, and nature, and to carve out time designated specifically for writing, and while doing that, making sure every day she was super intentional about fueling yourself, right? The daily affirmations, making sure the food. Her and I are both foodies, so we go crazy. Honestly, me and all my clients are foodies, so that's probably another way I align. But for me, like with Dr. Abrams, for instance, the very first time she spoke to me about the retreat she wanted to do, I felt her burnout, right? So, and I'm
Mm,
instantly like, oh my goodness, if you feel that way, I know there are plenty of other people in your industry that feel that way too, if not worse, right? So, like, at that point, it was like, oh, like, we don't have a choice. We have to do this because
wow.
I know God doesn't make no mistakes because the people that He has continued to put in my path are people who I truly feel like are doing their own part to create change in the world, genuinely. Like, I genuinely feel that way. So I spoke of Dr. Abrams and her curation of the space for academics to really academia is crazy. I'll be honest. I didn't know very much about that industry until I started working with some of my clients. Bless y'all's hearts. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
she's really focused on fostering the people like her, people in academia who are also interested in being entrepreneurs and making money for themselves, and knowing that you are not shackled to that university. You are more than that university, right? So that me just learning more about the industry, and then because I'm an empath as well, so I can just feel like the weight from it, right? And to go on this retreat, and it was one specifically, we were in Costa Rica, and I think we took 20 people. Now, mind you, these are all strangers from across the country, across the world. They all come together with the common goal of writing, right? And pouring into themselves. To see these people come together, sit in rooms with strangers, and feel comfortable and safe enough to share things that brought people to tears, to share things that were like pearl clutching, but also like, I would have never had an idea about that, right? To share these types of things. And then, every day for all of my retreats, they all implement some type of movement, right? Whether it's fitness, whether it's yoga, whatever. I mean, we've had people who seemingly like, oh, I don't work out, I don't have time. I mean, the follow-up months later, these are women, they've joined gym memberships. These are moms who are making time. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, because in the moment it is, here's our agenda for the week. I have you for the week. Let me take care of you for the week, right? But the most amazing piece is like them implementing those things that we do every week and taking them home and then being able to use them in their everyday life. Like, so it's like it worked. What she was selling, they bought, and now they're using it and it's working. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And that's for that piece for the writing. I've got a client who does, she's trained in mindfulness. She also happens to be an academician, but her retreats are mindfulness based and they're non-productive, right? I mean, her and I have been to some incredible places, and there's always transformation. But a specific time we were in, again, Costa Rica, different location. And, you know, at the beginning, there's always, all my clients always ask for photo consent, you know, because there's going to be videographers, there's going to be footage, but we want to make sure everybody's comfortable with being recorded. There was one woman who was very specific. I do not want to be in any footage, right? And then as, you know, we got to introduce ourselves and learn her, she was basically like, she shared that she just wasn't happy with her body currently, just didn't feel comfortable, she didn't feel good. No harm, no foul. I never ask questions or judge, so no problem. Do you know that second to last day on that retreat, she's in the beach doing a Baywatch shoot with the videographer, talking about some, no, we're okay, let's get some more shots. Right?
Wow.
Like, she wanted those pictures of herself. Someone who day
She
one,
felt
no,
differently
please
about
don't put me in
herself.
any. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it again. It's incredible. So like, there's that. Then on the tail end, I see my clients, right? Finishing, giving their farewell speeches. And in the last
owners
day,
and the CEOs,
it's always,
yeah.
the way that, you know, it's maybe a round robin, or we ask people to share, because every client's different. Every host likes to do it differently. But that last day where everyone's sharing their experiences and sharing what they're taking home with them, and it's incredible. And every time, it's so funny. I go through a range of emotions during every. I'm excited when I get there. There's in the middle piece, I'm like, ooh, y'all are running me ragged. This is crazy. And then, right? But we're going. And then on the tail end, I start to get sad, because these are people who started off as an email address, and then I meet them in person and genuinely care for them all week. And then I'm like, you know, I'll see you next time. Stay in touch.
Go
And they
fly, little
do.
birdies. Yeah.
When I tell you, just what month was it? May? I just went to Arizona, Phoenix in May, to the wedding of a woman who was on a retreat that I produced. She asked me to come to her wedding. Absolutely. I love. Here I come.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's fulfilling, to say the absolute least. Yeah. And it's to the point you asked, it's not really the retreat, right? Like, I don't have to love the retreat. It's the host. I just have to believe that you're doing this for a reason, and that reason is not to make a bag. Because let me tell you, please let me say this loud. If you are looking to make a quick bag, retreats are not for you. I'm just here to tell you, it is not. There's absolutely money in it, but if you're looking to make a large lump sum of money real quick and real easy, there's nothing easy about a retreat.
And
even
you have
my
to put a
clients,
lot
right, that
into it
don't have
and the people.
Yes. Even though my
Yeah.
clients who don't have to do the legwork, the reason I started providing my services is to give the host, whether it's the CEO, the whoever, the space to show up for the retreat, because you're on, baby. 8-10 hours a day, you're on. These people are here for you. And you
Yeah.
need that. Like, you can't fake that. If you don't believe in what you're there for, you're gonna get run down, you're gonna get tired, and they can see it and they can feel it. I've seen it happen. You know what I mean? But the ones who are getting up every day excited to pour more into these people on their retreat, we do them once a quarter.
Yeah.
Because most of my
Wow.
clients I've done multiple retreats with. So
Okay, so let's talk about that in terms of consistency and sustainability. What sorts of systems do you produce? What sorts of ways do you have of keeping clients, but also keeping those people who attend the retreats interested in re-engaging as well?
I would say, because of the nature of my business, because I'm always working with multiple clients, the reoccurrence of the attendees is mostly on them, right? Because they do their own marketing, they do their own sales, all the things. So when the clients are coming back, they're coming back for their content. Now, I would like to also think they're returning for
For
for a
the
certain piece of Gigi
experience,
as well.
yeah.
Right, for the
Yeah.
experience, absolutely. But
Because
so
let me tell you,
that
there
piece
could
is
be
really
20 mindfulness retreats, and I just went to yours. And if I didn't like it, I'm going to find another one if I need another one. So, yeah, there is something to be said about the curation and the experience that keeps people coming back, not just the content. You're in a
agreed. Well,
very
you're
specific
right.
lane as well.
Yes, and I think that you said it perfectly. I'm in a very specific lane. I've honestly, truth be told, I've never really had to promote my retreat production services. Every retreat I've produced from the first one has fostered from either someone who's attended one of my retreats or someone who's attended a retreat and then told somebody else about me and then they've reached out. So it really, you know what I
Wow.
mean? It's a blessing. Absolutely. Because like I said, I truly feel like I'm doing God's work and doing what he put me here to do. So I've been blessed enough to not have to promote or market my services in that aspect. But of course, when that time comes, I will, because it's something that I would ideally love for all of my clients to be reoccurring, right? Like most of them are the writing retreats reoccurring, the mindfulness. Oh my goodness, she's actually branched out and excuse me, we just ran a domestic retreat for perimenopause, women of color in perimenopause. You want to talk about game changer? I mean, it's honestly what it is. The people that I am fortunate enough to work with, again, they're walking in their purpose as well. I think that's the alignment. You know what I mean? I think the piece to
You're both doing
the
purpose-driven work.
qualification, yes, the qualification
Yeah,
to work
wow.
with me, and I just had that realization right now. But I really think the qualification to work with me is that, like, are you doing what you feel like you're supposed to be doing, regardless of
Hmm.
the outcome, right? Because that's the other piece. I've had clients who might clear, you know what I'm saying, 1,500 after taking 15 people across the water and keeping them there for a week. You know what I mean? But I've never, ever, out of all the retreats, none of my clients have ever been disappointed on the tail end of a retreat due to the money. Not to say they might not have made what they wanted to make, but as far as the end game and how they feel,
And the
10 out of 10, it was
impact, wow.
successful. That's the
I
piece.
appreciate
It's the
that as a
impact that it
marker
had.
of success,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the marker of success, and even me, I'm a researcher, right? So yes, the marker of success is how much you pay me, but all of my trainings, all of my consultations, anything that I, even a course that I teach ends with an evaluation that says, what was the benefit that you
Mm-hmm.
got from this? How can this be improved? Were your goals met? And certainly, I think that as a retreat producer, as a CEO, even one of our goals should be, right, to make sure that our clients and the people that come are either increased in efficacy, in their writing ability, in their mindfulness
Mm-hmm.
practice, in their overall peace of mind while they're doing this work. So, thinking about the value behind the work that you're doing as well, and making sure that it's transcribed even to those people who are paying you to help them curate an event or paying you to host them at those retreats that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, that I think, like you said, money is great. Everyone loves money, but that impact that you're able
Right.
to produce is so important. So, in terms of
Agreed.
impact, and this is me just knowing you and your trajectory, and I think that what I'll say is that you have encouraged me as well in terms of my trajectory. So I, as a
Yay.
researcher and clinician, I started seeing that, right, the work that I'm able to do individually with clients is only on a case by case, hour by hour basis. But the more I train individuals, I'm able to now give them the opportunity to take their training and knowledge and help others as well. What I'm trying to do now is to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, how can I train individuals while saving my time and energy, right? Which is to say, create a course. But like we know about retreats, everyone
Mm.
can create a course, just like anyone can create a retreat. So I want you to talk to me because I know that you're thinking about creating a course, and I know that that impact is going to be beneficial in a value based way. So, can you talk about your
Mm-hmm.
course, what you're thinking about your course in terms of even EA, right? So, taking it back to your foundations, right? How do you think that
Yeah.
this is something that will benefit those who are either thinking about joining the field or even those who are in the field but just want to get more grounding in what you're talking about, right? Making sure that that work is purpose driven.
Good question. I would say it's very easy. Nowadays, a monkey can answer the phone and send an email. It is not hard. being an administrative assistant is not hard. If all you want to do is clock in, get your money, and clock out 9 to 5, not think about that job and again until you get, and if you want to do that for 30 years, I love that for you, baby, and I wish the best, right? But being a phenomenal executive assistant is, I would say, 75% your mindset and 25% your skill. And it is something that, again, I'm only able to have the outlook I have because of the experience that I've worked in, right? I'm biracial. I grew up around predominantly white people. There were, of course, a couple brown kids at school, at home, all my cousins, everybody's brown. But, out in the world, to the white folks, I'm black. To the black folks, I'm not black enough. So, you know what I mean? There's always a balance. I found myself, being light-skinned, oh, you speak so well. I found myself mounting standing 10 toes down on the professionalism of it. And once I figured out what I liked to do, and landed the executive assistant role, I really honed in on the relationship piece, right? Because as we know, anybody can send an email. It doesn't matter what you look like, your experience, nothing, it's here, right? Same thing for phone calls. So for me to really not necessarily showcase my capabilities, but for me to build up my own career, I had to get a certain, I guess mental toughness is the best way to describe it, right? Because there are always situations where there's nothing like being in a corporate boardroom, right? And telling your idea and giving a very detailed explanation and having someone be like, you're close, but not so much. And then having someone who looks a little bit different from you give the exact same explanation. And now it's a phenomenal idea. Let's do that right now today. Give me 13.
Right.
Yeah. So the mental toughness I'm speaking of is learning to know that, experience that, not let it get to you, right? And just know how to pivot next time, right? Know how to hold that next time and still not be disrespectful to anybody, not be disrespectful to yourself, and not feel like, for lack of a better term, excuse my French, there were a lot of times where I just had to sit there and eat shit. A lot of times where I knew they were wrong. I knew what I said was right. I knew they were lying, but it doesn't matter. There's a certain feeling that it brings you when you know all of these things and you're so convicted and that is wrong. It doesn't matter if the person that signs your checks doesn't think so. It's dead in the water, so it does you no good to get worked up or why me or you shouldn't. So it's just getting hip to it and knowing how to pivot through it and maneuver around it and doing those things while remaining true to yourself and the things that you know are right and wrong. And also, speaking up for yourself in a sense, right? But for me, the biggest piece was the finesse, right? Like it's a very strategic mix of finesse, right? You gotta be able to give someone your idea in a way that you're basically making them feel like it's their idea. So that way, when they can repeat it back to you, it's, yes, I love that idea. Let's move forward, right? So you got to be okay with not wanting credit. Little things that, we shouldn't really, that speak to our pride more than anything. But in the corporate industry, especially looking the way that I look, in order to walk into the room like this and have the confidence that I need to for the appropriate reasons, it took a lot of, I don't even want to say code switching or imposter syndrome, right? Because I think there's a very fine line that we ride on as far as like imposter syndrome goes. Like, for instance, like I mentioned, I know I'm walking in my purpose. I know I'm doing what God put me here to do. I also know that I am not yet the person that I will be at the end, right? Like I've got some growth to do. I'm going to do some amazing, incredible things. So I know that God sees me differently than I see myself. I'm still walking as the person God sees me as, even though I'm just like, oh, I'm not sure, but I'm going to take your word for it, right? That's not imposter syndrome. That's just me,
it's
like
when people say, like, fake it till you make it. I'm not really faking it. Exactly. I'm walking and I might not know what I'm doing yet, but I'm here, right? So yes, that makes complete sense.
But somebody does. Somebody knows. And these steps have intention behind them for a reason. So I'm not just out here willy-nilly, and the intention is genuine. So that's why for me, it's not imposter syndrome or anything like that. So I say all of that to say the mindset that you have to have to, because what a lot of people don't understand is a good executive assistant is essentially your chief of staff, is essentially your CEO's ear in their right hand, right? When I left the company that I was working at, there wasn't any, truth be told, hand to God, There was not anything I could not have made happen in that company to anyone because of the relationship I had with my CEO. He could have had a meeting with his 3 top executives. They would have given him a rundown, given him his thoughts. They leave. He calls me in. What do you think? What do you think I should do? Now, granted, sometimes because he was a bit squirrely, it'd be like, well, but that one time she wore that dress and she looked sloppy. I didn't like it. Let's fire her. Right? That's asinine. But what I'm saying is, if you get to that level and you essentially prove that you are that strategic partner that they can count on, and you're anticipating their needs, and you're filling in where they can't, you're responding to things that they don't have to, all of these things, of course they're going to lean on you for everything. You know what I mean? That type of power, to be able to have that type of power while you're still seemingly an executive assistant, oh, just have her do it. That's the other piece of mental toughness, right? Because you have to know, you have no idea how powerful I really am, but not necessarily, for lack of a better term, get into, a measuring contest with the next person. But so all of those things are, to me, mindset shifts that are specific to building yourself up, building up your own confidence in your ability to do the work and then not be second guessed. And it's also like being held accountable. There's nothing wrong with falling on your sword. If you made a mistake, just say that. Honey, everybody makes them. It's okay. But we can't fix it until I know it happened. So, because so many people be so scared to admit they were wrong, or, oh, I feel personally attacked. No, baby, this is a learning opportunity. Take it as such and let's move on. But you can't let things roll off the shoulder like that if you don't have that sense of yourself. If you don't feel confident walking into a room and knowing you can say, actually, I'm not super clear on that. Could you elaborate, please? Ask for instruction. For, oh my goodness, the first probably 1 or 2 years, the way I would try to be in meetings and take notes and miss stuff and try to guess, girl, if you don't stop embarrassing yourself and go ask.
We would much rather you ask than to make it up.
Thank you. Most good executives, they want, please, baby, if you don't understand, I want to make sure you're clear. Nowadays, girl, triple, quadruple. So just one last time, so we're clear. Just because, and that for me is because I think the people aspect has gotten heavier, and I just always want to make sure that I am, because of how, you know what I'm saying, the role that I play for retreats, I always want to make sure that I am relaying my clients' information how they want it to be perceived by their clients or by their demographic. You know what I mean? So that's another reason why I'm very intentional about making sure I understand where they're coming from so that I can essentially speak for them when I need to.
Yeah, no, wow. So I can see each of those as modules in the course, right? Like mindset shifts from just being someone who contributes to a team to becoming a leader on the team, right? Being accountable and not being afraid to own up to mistakes and to ask for questions. Not necessarily faking it till you make it, but right, walking in the unknown to get to the known, right? Like those are specific mindset shifts. Even, and I don't know if academia is more competitive, but there is a certain part of the way that we are raised or trained in that we always want to leave a paper trail. We have intellectual property and our ideas must be on record as being our ideas, but it's something different that you're talking about in a retreat space or more collaborative space where, okay, it doesn't matter whose idea it was, as long as it's being executed appropriately and as long as, right, we all are coming to the table. You can think it's your idea. Who's going to help you execute it? You know you're coming to me with those questions, right?
Exactly.
That I think in terms of mindset is so important when you're thinking about this specific role. And certainly people who are getting trained to work into this specific role need to have the mindset for it. Because, right, you can't take a researcher's mindset and place it on an executive assistant or even a CEO's mindset, right? You have to have the mindset of an executive assistant in order to succeed in that role.
Oh, you said something there. And what it is, I think the mindset of an executive assistant is a happy balance, right? And this made me think about when you said sometimes it's due to the way we're raised. Absolutely. I was raised by a single mom who was a nurse for 30 years. She don't do nothing but help people and give of herself, always. That is something that I, like, sometimes to my detriment, follow in her footsteps. So for me, it was opposite, right? It was me. The mindset shift for me was realizing it's okay to give everything that I can and then stop and move on and get, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Versus
Mhm.
continuing to give and give and give and give and give. And for me, the mindset shift was because everybody's, how I say something to you and how I intend for you to receive it is not exactly how you're going to perceive it, because you know what I'm saying? We just don't,
Intent versus
we're not the same
impact. Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Exactly. So what I had to learn is I can do my absolute best and give you everything you ask from A to Z. But you could still come in tomorrow and your coffee was cold. So now you're not in the best mood, right? So your response
Mm-hmm.
to this report doesn't have anything to do with my effort in the report, even though that's what you're going to make it seem like. But your response to my report is due to the fact that your coffee's cold. But I'm going to take it. Absolutely. I understand, right? Sure. Happily. Sure. I'll absolutely fix that. And still go back to my office without beating myself up and knowing I'm going to sit here and resend it in 2 days when she's in a different mood because this report's bomb and I know that, right? Knowing that and knowing when to, sure, absolutely, yes, sir. But knowing when I'd be happy to, but if you could remember the last time we did that, you didn't like the result. So I think we should do this instead, right? Like knowing when to cower, not
Wow, how
necessarily
to
cower,
advocate
but
for yourself and push back.
knowing when to follow and when to lead. Absolutely. Because
Wow, yeah.
the strength piece comes from doing that well. You let people walk over you too much, everybody's going to dump on you. You walk in the room pounding your chest, no, but everybody's going to try to cut your ego down. You know what I mean? So it's finding that balance and doing it with your work, right? Like just doing a good job, but also being sure of yourself and understanding everybody's human and not letting the corporate
Mm,
stiff weigh you down, right? Because that's what it's
yeah,
there for, baby. If those,
yeah.
what my mom told me probably year 3 into that job, because mind you, this was my dream job when I first got it, loved it. She said to me, she said, baby, I know you love that job, but don't kill yourself for that job because you will die tomorrow and the following day they will have someone else sitting in your seat.
Mm-hmm.
No harm, no foul. They don't care nothing about it. And that's okay. That's a corporation. Of course, you know what I mean? That's my friend. So like the moment you start to think about things like that, every exchange has more to do with the other person than it has to do with you. You know what I mean? So just make sure you're straight. And you can never control other people. Take it as it comes.
Yeah.
And you know what
I
I
was
mean?
going to
Just
say,
be
one
honest.
thing I can say about you, though, is I know. Let me not say die because you're not dying, but if you were to leave tomorrow, everyone that you work for will hurt. They will feel it. So, yes, understand that you could be replaced, but do the work to put yourself in the position to where if I'm leaving, you're going to hurt. And if I say I'm leaving, you're going to
Well,
do
yes.
everything it could take to keep me because I know
Yes.
that you have made yourself invaluable to a lot of people. So definitely don't kill yourself for that job, but put yourself in a position
No.
to where they want you and they feel like they need you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Agreed.
but you're right
That's a
in
very
terms
good way
of
to put
right.
it.
That's
Yeah.
when you talk about mindset, a lot of times our mindsets have to operate in the duality of both, right? Yes, I'm an assistant, but I need to step up and lead sometimes. Like you said with Dr. Abrams, she
Yes.
had the the value of pouring into people who came to her writing retreat. And maybe she even knew that she wanted to do affirmations. But like you said, I had to take that and I had to run with it. So let me find affirmations that are related to productivity and that are related to self-worth. Let me find this printer. Let me go ahead and find or create different drafts of these affirmations. Let me go ahead and take that ball that she said, this little seed, and run with it to the point that it multiplies. And I think that in terms of when you say retreat production, the production part is what's key. Yeah, we have the ideas and we have the vision, but to produce it in a way that is, and I know because I've worked with you as well, to produce it in a way that says, oh my God, we imagined for Roman's birthday party a crafts and cocoa corner, but this lady done printed out stickers. She got branding on the cup. She got goodie bags. But I tell you, we were just talking about a vision for Roman's birthday party. We can think of that as an event or a retreat. But baby, it became something way bigger than that. And I know that
Yes.
that's what you do with all of your clients, which is to say, I'm going to take your vision and I'm going to take leadership. And I always say that over my work. Baby, I need somebody who will come take ownership over this lab, ownership over my work. Let me say something. And I want you to be the one who's inspired, like, oh my God, I get to produce a podcast, or oh my God, I get to run this study.
Yes.
Oh
No,
my
and
God,
that you
I want you to
you
want
said
this
it
work.
perfectly,
Take it.
inspired.
It's yours.
Yes,
And that I think
yes.
is
No, and
what's
honestly,
really important.
yes, and that's probably my favorite part about what I do is the consulting piece, right? Like letting them download their ideas and then letting that spark new stuff in me like, "Ooh, what about this?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you feel about this?" Right? Which
Mm-hmm.
then hypes them up and now we're just in this idea drumming up, dreaming, visioning, and it works. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We play off of each other and because sometimes, you know, a host will come to the table and they'll know is where they want to go. Sometimes they don't even know that. You know what I mean? But sometimes Dr. Abrams specifically usually has just about everything she wants figured out when she comes. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? As far as the location and things like that. But it always differs. Sometimes we need a lot of creative meetings and a lot of times to talk through how you want things to look.
And I've seen you
It's
go
so
scout
funny because
locations before, and I've been like, "Bring me on, let me go scout with you." So yeah, it does
yeah,
depend on how much planning
that's my
goes in
favorite.
on the front end.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Well, and I'll say, while I used to, like when I was doing retreats, I used to say, "Oh, I can't wait till I get to a point where I've got like I'm rinsing and repeating things, right? Like it's just a new group of people and it's
Right,
well-oiled
right,
machine,
yeah.
right?" But
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm living in what I prayed for, right, doing the reoccurring retreats, I genuinely love a fresh retreat. I love to do all the new, you know what I mean, like a brand new location. We've never done one here before, so we got to find a venue. Like I enjoy that type of sourcing because it helps me learn about the space and it's going to add another, you know, location on the map. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of locations, what's next for you? What are you excited about? What's coming up?
So, I mean, lots coming up, lots to be excited about. Specifically retreat wise, I've got, I'm going back to Ghana. I'm going back to West Africa in September. We're doing, it is a wellness based retreat, more so, I would say more of like a spiritual vibe, but really just, you know, giving people an opportunity to go back to their motherlands and enjoy it. I
And
ran a
this one
retreat
is
in
giving
April.
back
It was more
too.
of a business focus. Yeah. So we're also, when we went in April, I made a friend who is a teacher there, and we've partnered with her in her school.
Yeah.
We're right now running a back to school to purchase, you know, school supplies, donations, all the things, and we're packaging them up and shipping them over to my homegirl Rosie, who is a teacher at the school, and they're in the city of Ada, or I think it's an island. I'm not sure. I don't want to misspeak, but Ada is where her school is, so that's where we're going to be sending stuff for the kids. Don't
Wow.
even get me started. Like I said, we went in April, and I am obsessed. If I could pack it all up and move tomorrow and still have access to all my people and all my stuff, I would. I still might, but not tomorrow. But yeah, so we're going back to Africa in September, again in December. December is going to be more of like a leisure party vibe though. So, and dates dropping soon. So don't worry. You know what I'm saying? Follow my socials. Be on the lookout
We'll
for
be on the
tickets to purchase for
lookout.
both of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please, please. But so yeah, Africa. I plan to be in Africa twice more this year, and then whatever else pops up. But I'm excited. I'm super excited for the future. Absolutely. The summer's been awesome. Summer's always super busy for me, retreat wise,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
everybody loves to retreat in the summer. Yeah, just looking forward to rounding the year out.
Yeah, well, I will say it's somewhat in terms of mirror, in terms of seeing you and seeing your growth and seeing the destinations that you've been able to travel to, seeing the different types of groups that you've been able to benefit, seeing the impact that you have had over these past 5 years has just been astronomical in terms of the growth that you've experienced. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm following you to Accra. I'm so excited about all of the
Come
different
on.
destinations that you have. I'm excited for your course. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about what's next for you, your course,
Um,
anything that's exciting?
I'm trying. Everything's exciting. Be on the lookout. I'm getting ready to, because currently I'm not super present on social media. Bless my heart. I don't love it, but
That's what I want you to
I've
talk
got a close
about.
friend that I've
Exactly.
been, yes, I've got a close friend that I've been, you know, co-working with, who's, we're helping hold each other accountable. I've got a lot of new stuff. Just nobody knows about it because I don't ever post or tell anybody about it. So yes, there will be, somewhat of a relaunch of my business, my website, all the things. So you'll be able to keep up with me on my socials, and follow along there. Again, the training course, we're still in the planning-ish stages, but you can look for that to be launched, thinking end of Q1 2026. But that's honestly what's really filling my cup right now, because I am really looking
Yay.
forward to equipping this new, I don't want to say new generation, right? But like the generation under me, they're sharp. Ooh, they're sharp. So if I can get my hands on some of them who genuinely have like the EA bug and want to grow that, baby, we'll make them unstoppable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because just equipping them with that confidence and the power that they need to, stand 10 toes down on business, because they deserve it. So I'm excited. Yeah, that look for that the top of next year. And other than that, we're just, living life, trying to keep our head above water, baby.
I love that. So, in terms of looking for that, tell people your website, your social media, because you are going to be posting on
Okay,
there more. Maybe even your email
I
because I know
am.
you're taking interns currently. So, yeah, tell people how they can get in touch
Reach
with you.
out. Absolutely. So, let's say for starters, my Instagram, which is about to get piped all the way up. I'm really getting ready to start, unloading the clip as far as my posts go. My Instagram is up your ops, UPP underscore your underscore ops with 2 P's. My email address, if you would like to reach out to me, is the word admin at ueconsults.co. And my website is ueconsults.co. So everything's on the website, all my services, everything that I offer. You can also contact me there. You can schedule a consultation if you want to just have a quick chat. Also, just, be on the lookout for everything that I have coming up. I'm super excited about September. And definitely get at me if you're looking to sponsor the back to school drive, donate anything like that for the kids. It's something I plan on doing annually, but I really want to make this first one huge. So I would love to put a smile on all the babies' faces. So if you would like to help me do that, please let me
Yay.
know.
Yay. Thank you so much,
Oh, and
Gigi.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say, thank you. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me and sharing this space with me. I mean,
Yay.
everything that you're doing with Empower Lab, with this podcast, just in general. We never talk about it, but I'm so inspired by you as a person, as a, business owner, everything. So thank
Yay.
you so much for sharing this space with me. And I look forward to, the millions that are on the horizon.
Come on, millions. We accept and multiply. We
Yes, yes.
receive and give thanks in advance. Thank you so
Amen.
much, Gigi, for joining
Yes,
today.
thank
You
you,
talked
dear.
about really just navigating your career with intention. And I really appreciate the value based approach that you take into even picking out your clients all the way through fully executing as an executive assistant, but specifically now as a retreat producer. I am sure that people are going to have so much to learn from you, not just from this conversation. Y'all are going to be
Hopefully.
holding your
Yes.
breaths until January or quarter 1 of next year when this course drops, because truly, Gigi is a wealth of resources, a wealth of knowledge.
Oh,
Gigi has helped
you're
me
kind. Thank you.
so much. She says I inspire her. It's ridiculous. It's a lie. Truly, Gigi, anytime we meet, we always co-work. Any struggle, any problem, any obstacle that I come up against personally and especially professionally, Gigi's like, oh, I know this person. I got the solution. Have you heard of this website? Have you heard of this service or this product? Like, she is the great connector and the great literally everything. So thank you so
You're great.
much for
Thank you.
lending your time to this
Yay.
conversation. I truly appreciate
Happy
you
to
for
do it.
helping to illuminate your journey, but for just giving us some insight into your experiences on this Mirror episode. Thank you so much.
Yay.
To our
Of course.
listeners,
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you for coming back. Thank you for staying tuned. There's like 12
Yes.
of y'all. I love all of our
Keep
12
coming.
loyal
Keep
followers.
coming. Keep coming.
Black and Empowered podcast, please, y'all, we say like, comment, subscribe, share this with
Subscribe. All the
anyone who is
things.
interested. You guys, please, any questions that you have, send them to theempowerlab@gmail.com. We will do a mailbag episode. If you have
Yeah.
questions specific for Gigi, I will bring her back, y'all. She's at my house all the time,
Yeah.
so I will bring her back if necessary. Leave a review if you have a 5-star review that you can leave on Apple Music, or not Apple
Yes.
Music,
Only
Apple
leave it if it's five
Podcasts.
stars.
Listen,
Only leave it if
otherwise
it's
just
five
save
stars.
it. Otherwise just save it. We don't need it. But if we get
Yeah.
them 5 stars, we'll take it. Please share, and we will be back next episode to Black and Empowered. Boo, 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 boo.
So you can find Black and Empowered Podcast on YouTube and on Dr. Isha Metzger's website. So click on her handle, go under Black and Empowered Podcast. You can find an ample amount of podcast episodes where we're talking all things Black, all things wellness, and all things Black excellence. See you there.